Tonight on Night Rhythm, we're examining a modern sleep disruption that operates quietly but consistently. Screen exposure before bed. Not just the light itself, but the cognitive stimulation layered within it. We'll break down how blue light interacts with melatonin, how attention systems remain active long after scrolling stops, and most importantly, how to adjust your environment without eliminating technology entirely. For most of human history, light exposure followed a predictable pattern. Daylight signaled activity, and darkness signaled rest. This environmental rhythm calibrated the circadian system with high precision. Artificial lighting introduced flexibility, but modern screens have amplified that effect, extending wake signals well into biological night, often without conscious awareness of the shift. At the center of this system is the circadian clock, regulated primarily by the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain. This structure interprets light signals received through the eyes and coordinates hormonal timing. One of its key outputs is melatonin, a hormone that signals the body that nighttime processes should begin. Melatonin release typically begins 2 to 3 hours before habitual sleep time under dim lighting conditions. This gradual rise lowers alertness, reduces core body temperature slightly, and prepares the brain for sleep onset. Disruption at this stage delays the entire sequence, even if physical fatigue is present. Screens emit a spectrum of light, but the wavelength most relevant here is blue light, typically between 460 and 480 nanometers. This range strongly activates melanopsin, containing retinal cells, which send a signal to the circadian clock indicating that it is still daytime. The effect is not subtle. Exposure to blue-enriched light in the evening has been shown to delay melatonin release, sometimes by over an hour, depending on intensity and duration. This creates a mismatch between biological readiness for sleep and behavioral intention to go to bed. However, light exposure is only one part of the disruption. Screens are not passive light sources. They deliver continuous novelty, new information, movement, and emotional stimuli, which engage attention networks in the brain. This cognitive activation can be as influential as the light itself. When scrolling, watching, or interacting, the brain's alertness systems remain active. Dopamine pathways respond to novelty and unpredictability, reinforcing continued engagement. This creates a feedback loop where the brain expects stimulation rather than disengagement. Even after the screen is turned off, this activation does not immediately disappear. Neural activity remains elevated, and the transition into a low-arousal state is delayed. This is why individuals often report feeling tired but unable to sleep after extended screen use. Importantly, not all screen use has the same impact. Passive viewing, such as listening to calm audio or watching low-stimulation content, produces less disruption than interactive or emotionally engaging material. The type of input matters as much as the light exposure itself. Distance and brightness also influence the effect. A phone held close to the face delivers higher intensity light directly to the retina compared to a television across the room. Brightness settings and contrast levels further amplify or reduce this exposure. Time of exposure is critical. Blue light during the morning strengthens circadian alignment and improves alertness. The same light in the evening produces the opposite effect. This demonstrates that light is not inherently harmful. It is context-dependent. A practical starting point is timing control. Reducing screen exposure approximately 60 to 90 minutes before bed allows melatonin to rise without interference. For many people, this single adjustment produces noticeable improvement within days. If full avoidance is not realistic, modify the input. Activate night shift modes, reduce brightness to the lowest comfortable level, and increase ambient lighting slightly to reduce contrast. These changes do not eliminate blue light, but they reduce its intensity. Behavioral adjustments are equally important. Shift evening screen use toward passive formats. Audio-based content, slow-paced visuals, or reading on dimmed displays are less likely to sustain high cognitive engagement compared to rapid interactive content. Introduce a defined off-ramp for the brain. Instead of stopping abruptly, transition through a short routine, dim lights, reduce input, and allow a buffer period. This signals the nervous system that stimulation is ending, rather than forcing an immediate shutdown. Environmental design can support this process. Keep charging stations away from the bed, use warm lighting in the evening, and associate the bed primarily with sleep. These cues reinforce behavioral boundaries that align with the circadian system. For individuals sensitive to light, consider physical interventions such as blue light filtering glasses. While not a complete solution, they can reduce retinal stimulation when screen use is unavoidable. Their effectiveness depends on consistent use and timing. It is also useful to observe personal response patterns. Some individuals tolerate evening screens with minimal disruption, while others experience significant delays in sleep onset. Tracking sleep timing alongside screen habits can reveal patterns that are not immediately obvious. Thank you for spending this time with Night Rhythm. Screen exposure is not a single variable problem. It is a combination of light intensity, timing, and cognitive stimulation. When these factors are aligned, sleep becomes more predictable. The final point is this: better sleep rarely requires elimination, only more precise timing and controlled input. Inconsistent schedules amplify the impact of screens. When sleep timing shifts daily, the circadian system becomes more vulnerable to external signals like light and stimulation. Consistency acts as a stabilizing force, reducing the magnitude of disruption. The objective is not strict avoidance, but controlled integration. Screens are part of modern life. When used with awareness, adjusting brightness, timing, and content, they can coexist with healthy sleep. The system responds to patterns, not perfection.